Hi, and welcome back to T.T.C. That's our acronym. We're going to do a deep dive in a few weeks on education acronyms. So be prepared. It's going to be fun.
There
Not
are a
really. I
lot.
mean, there are a lot. It's probably going to be tedious and boring, but we'll try to make it as informative as possible. So I'm Betsy. My partner here is Jenny, and this week, last week we talked about content and curriculum. We're going to be doing lots of deep dives into that. But this week we're going to sort of back up. And if you remember our first week, we talked about classroom management and knowing your procedures and your responsibilities as a teacher. And your main responsibility as a teacher, the main thing that you need to be able to do is manage your classroom. And that starts out on day one. So, Jenny, what do you know about classroom procedures?
First of all, we've talked about being what might feel like overly prepared, but it's never over preparation. I've mentioned my mentor who said preparation is key. And so, things that I've learned over the years is quite literally teaching kids how to come in the classroom, coming in quietly, going and putting their things away under their desks, getting their materials out immediately, beginning on the warm up or bell ringer or first thing. They're supposed to do after they have gotten to their seat and gotten their materials out. It sounds kind of kindergarten, but you have to remember we're working with adolescents. They're coming fresh from spring break. They know how to go inside of a room, to walk inside of the room, but they need to be shown. And so I would literally stand in front of class and model walking in the room quietly, sitting down in the desk, and getting their things out ready to work. They learn visually, especially this generation in the world of technology. So, modeling and showing them with your own self, your own body, is very important. And then alongside that, teaching the kids how to line up. Um, every teacher, well, I don't want to say every teacher, but there are teachers who do this differently. Um, some some teachers will uh, give kids desk numbers or table group numbers. Do you line them up by their desk numbers? Do you line them up by the row or the column they're sitting in? If you have learning teams, do you line them up by teams? And then where do they go stand when they line up? Do you line them up inside your classroom? Do you have them go line up by a wall or a set of lockers outside of your classroom while you stand in the doorway so you can see who's left and who's already lined up? These are things to think about. And, some teachers do better with having them lined up in the classroom versus having them lined up outside of the classroom. But whatever you choose, you have to actually spend intentional time showing them how to do it. And you need to do that early.
Yeah, I agree. The earlier, the better. And in fact, I pulled this up, this document, and we're going to actually put a link to this below the YouTube video. But first week procedures, but this starts day one. Like you cannot be too prepared. So Jenny mentioned this. Every little thing that you possibly can think of that could go wrong will go wrong. So like it's sort of that law, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And so if you are
Mhm.
prepared for it and you sort of can preemptively think about all of these things, then you can sort of prepare for that and prep for that. And that goes from like kindergarten all the way up to even seniors. Like, what do you expect of any age group? And it might look a little different in these age groups. Jenny and I, of course, are middle school teachers, so it looks quite a bit different for middle school. Middle
Mhm.
schools sort of start to smell themselves at sixth grade and sort of try to want to do things their own way. And so you sometimes have to do these procedures over and over again. Again, you have to think through these things. And I think Jenny did a great job sort of talking through sort of the lining up and the entering the classroom. And some of those are going to be the same, like number 12 over here. When you have a fire drill, you're going to line them up, of course. But like, are you going to take your roster out? Are you going to take a seating chart out? Are you going to do a count? Some teachers do a count. They know that they have 23 students in their class and they count them before they even leave the classroom. Then once they're outside in a line, they count them again to make sure that they have every single student. And if they're missing a student, then they say, okay, help me find out who's missing, or they check their roster and they figure out who's missing. So you have to sort of think through the lining up and the drills and all of those kind of things for things like moving to lunch or just coming in and out of the classroom, going to fire drills. Even like things like going to the library, right? Out of the classroom, but also in your classroom. Are they going to be able to access any of the books that are in your classroom? What do they do to access those books? What are your procedures going to be for dismissal? Are they going to line up as soon as they're finished? Are you going to just let them all leave at the same time? Is it going to be orderly? You're going to dismiss them by rows? Like a lot of these things that are on this sheet, you really have to think through prior to the first day and then immediately start practicing them.
And the thing is, Betsy, that I found, well, there's a couple of things. The first thing is you've taught these procedures, you've done it many times. There will always be a handful of kids that just maybe it's immaturity, maybe it's a learning disability, maybe they're hard of hearing. I mean, I'm being very serious when I say that. That always seem to just get certain procedures wrong every time. The beauty of it is, though, the classmates that are getting it right can help that student out and say, remember, we line up like this. I've seen this after years of teaching procedures and seeing the kids that, just still struggle with them. Perhaps they have no structure at home. It helps those children to see the other kids doing it correctly. And then the other thing, sometimes you have to ask yourself, what might an 11 or 12-year-old boy or girl try to do going downstairs for a fire drill? Maybe they're going to stomp really loud. Maybe they might see a student that they know and yell all the way down the stairwell. Maybe they panic and they just stand in the corner of the stairwell instead of walking with your class. You have to think, what could they do? And then plan plan for those things. How are you going to respond, or how will you prevent those things from happening in the first place?
Yeah, and I think along with that, the just all of these things we're talking about, moving around the room, lining up, what is the lunch procedure? What are the drills that you're going to do? How are you going to behave in the classroom? But you also have to come up with a plan for like hallway behavior and noise levels. Like if you line your students up in the classroom for dismissal, are they just going to charge out into the hallway and just be crazy when they go out there? Or are you going to line them up in the hallway and then you're going to say, okay, now you go to your class and then dismiss them maybe by the classes that they're going to go to next? And depending upon what your school rules are, you may even have to, I know for a long time, at many of our schools, we had to walk our students to Encore or to their elective classes. Our district calls middle school specials Encore classes. So in elementary school, they're called specials. In middle school, they're called Encore. And then in high school, they're called electives. So when we use that terminology, it might be similar for your districts, but I sort of get confused sometimes. I try to remember to say electives because, like most of those special classes, band, art, music are electives, but we call them encore. So if you
Betsy,
hear me say encore, then that's why.
Imagine though being a high school teacher and saying, "Okay, kids, we're going to our specials."
Yeah.
It seems maybe silly on the outside. Why don't you just call them the same thing? Well, a third grader doesn't know the word elective, but they can understand that there's something special about their music or art class. So it's a funny thing, but anyway, I digress.
No, it's all good. We on that note though, like you have to sort of think through these things and how you're going to prepare for that. What does your school look like? And some schools have noise levels that are across the board, and they have procedures that you do across the board, whether that's walking kids to a certain class, or if that is you should be on a level 0 for noise in the hallway. That means you should not be talking when you're walking somewhere. So all of those kind of procedures you have to sort of get from your own sort of school, and every school might be a little bit different. But what might be for you to use as an autonomy piece in your own classroom is sort of like, are you going to allow students to have drinks at their desk? Is it going to be just a bottle of water that's like sitting on the floor? Are you going to have partner and group work? Are you going to sit them in groups? Are you going to allow them to move their desk if they need to work with a partner? What are your rewards and reminders? Are you going to use candy as an incentive? Are you going to use maybe a grade? We're not really supposed to use grades, but I will tell you that um, a lot of times, if you just say, I'm going to give you extra points, that's not a grade. But if you say, okay, Jenny and I were talking before we started the recording, there is one on here, and I'll go ahead and use this as an example under number 15, the rewards and reminders. If you use like a card system, and I have used this before, something as simple as saying you're going to get 10 points on your next quiz. So some people might get 110, and some people might have made that 50, and it's going to bump them up to passing. But the card system is everybody starts out with their card. It's flipped to the green side on their table. And if they remain on green the entire class period, then they get that 10 points added to whatever assignment they want. However, if it's turned to red, they lose out on that 10 points. It could be a point system like that. It could be a piece of candy at the end of the day. It might be, okay, you get an extra restroom pass. It might be, okay, if we have a school-wide silent lunch, and our school did do that several times. If they have that, then you and your friend that is also on green can get permission to not do that. You'd have to, get that approval with your assistant principal or with whoever. But I mean, just any kind of little rewards or reminders, you would be really surprised what entices these kids to just keep their mouths shut like all day during the whole class period, right? A simple piece of candy. If you don't talk out or burst out or yell in the class today, guess what? You get a Jolly Rancher. So it's something simple, but the card system sort of keeps it a little bit more anonymous, right? Because you're not saying, Jimmy, be quiet. Jimmy, be quiet. You've turned it over to the red side, and that's for him not, not being quiet the way he was. And then maybe if he's quiet for 15 minutes, you turn it back to the green side, right? So on the flipping the cards, it says a clip system. You can do this with like those paper clips. Maybe you put a paper clip on their desk that is red or green, or those laundry clips, that you hang laundry on a line with, and you clip that to the side of their desk. There's all sorts of ways you can do this, but for me, I just laminated the cards. Everybody started out on green, and I had 25 of them and gave them to the 25 students. And they knew that, if they got flipped over to red, they missed out on their points for the day. So,
And yeah, and like depending on the age group, I think this can work in different ways. For me, trying to keep up with paper clips or whatever, I am one of the most unorganized teachers you'll ever meet. I do my best every year to refine the systems that I've come up with that work for me, but like the older the age group, the more responsibility they can take in keeping up with their red or green card, or keeping up with their punch card if you do like a hole punch system or whatever it is. The littles, you're going to have to keep that for them somewhere in the room. Um, I've decided with middle school to go in the middle ground. I don't um, let the kids take them home, whatever it is, the green and red card will just say, I keep them in the room. But if I were teaching high school and I was using something like this, I would probably put it on them to say, hey, keep up with your red or green card, because if I have to keep replacing them, there's going to be some kind of not consequence, but loss of privilege. Like we can't keep doing this. Um, so I just wanted to speak that, Betsy, for teachers who already feel like overwhelmed with all the things they have to remember. You could just put buckets in a group and put the red and green cards in the buckets and say, everyone put the green card on your table now or on your desk. Think about what works best for you and for the class. Different personalities in different classes might force you to do these things a certain way.
Yeah, we're just about out of time, but on that note, I did want to mention one more thing. A lot of these procedures, we said at the bottom of this sheet, and again, we will link this to our YouTube video, but repetition and consistency is essential, and you may have to repeat this even into the second or third week with some classes. You may have
Yes.
to just do this once with some classes. Like literally, you go over these rules, they know what they are, the procedures, and you don't have to repeat them. It's similar to that card system or whatever way you're sort of keeping up with those things. Some classes may be able to keep up with their own cards and take them out and do this immediately. And then other people might, oh, I accidentally took the green card today, so I'm going to need a replacement. So this can change based on the group and the behaviors of that group and the level of students that you have. Even so I'm an eighth grade teacher, but my first period or my second period class might be great and get all of these procedures down like within 3 days. Then my third class, maybe they have lunch in the middle. And so we have to rehash these 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And I have had some classes that I've had to go over this for a full quarter with. You would be surprised, for a full 9 weeks. And they still sometimes don't really understand. Again, no one's fault really, but maybe they've never had this type of structure before. Maybe they've never really had to follow procedures before. Maybe at home they don't have any kind of procedures or structure or rules or anything that they have to follow. And so when they come into the classroom, it's a little harder for them to adjust. So again, just remember that repetition and consistency is the most important thing. You may have to do this and it may become tedious and feel like it's sort of a waste of time, but it's so, so, so important for you to sort of start out day one with this and just do it over and over until the students actually get it.
And Betsy, if I can just add one or two things quickly before we're done, I just want to stress this for new teachers. Don't feel embarrassed or like something's wrong with you as a teacher these first year or two that you're in the classroom if you have to do these things more than one time in a row. Principals respect teachers who take the time to really teach these procedures because they know this is common knowledge and proven in research. Procedures make your class go more smoothly. You can get more taught when students know what to do. I've had some pretty squirrely classes where maybe one week, maybe the week after Christmas, we come back from break, they just are kind of wild. And I might make them line up 2 or 3 times in a row before we walk down the hallway. Um, and that's okay. Principals are aware that we have students who just and sometimes classes who need this over and over again. So please, please don't feel like because you're having to do something more than one time that there's something wrong with you. You're doing this for the kids who need it again.
And yeah, again, that goes along with that consistency and repetition piece. And just don't feel like you're the only one. You'll see even veteran teachers that will repeat these procedures. I don't teach in the classroom anymore, I'm virtual, but I remember doing this over and over and over again. And that I was teaching for 20 years and I still did this same thing over and over. So whether you're first year or 20 years, you have to sort of set the tone day one and week one, and get these procedures taken care of.
Yeah, and the last thing is I have found over the years that if you try to mimic some of your procedures according to what your teammates are doing, this can't work for every procedure. But for some, you could go to your social studies teammate and say, "Hey, how are you lining them up? Does it work for them?" Or, "Hey, do you leave your pencils out for them to just come and get, knowing they'll return it, or do you make them trade something with you?" If you can just try to have some of the same procedures across your team, that helps them too. Anything they know to expect from one place to the other makes their day smoother and definitely makes your day smoother.
Yes. So, yeah. So that we sort of went over this really quickly, and so I just want to emphasize again, this is a document that you can make a copy of. We're going to link this beneath our YouTube video. You can use this at your leisure, however you want to. If you need to manipulate it, change it in any way, find what works for you. That's really sort of the most important thing. But we wanted to do a deep dive into sort of the first week of school for you guys. So this is our deep dive into week one. Next week, we will do a deep dive into week two of your first year or maybe your 20th year, and talk about some things that you need to do on week two. So until then, we will see you later. Bye bye.
Thanks so much. Bye bye.